You matter. You matter. You matter. Till the day that you die, you will matter. And I hope you can see that you're worth being free, 'cause you matter.
In the first video in this series, I made the bold statement that a relationship is like a teeter-totter, and it's not hard. It isn't like juggling or riding a unicycle or balancing on a tightrope. And teeter-tottering is definitely not in the same category as juggling while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. But while relationship and teeter-tottering are not inherently difficult, they do require responsibility. Unfortunately, responsibility has gotten a bad rap also. We associate it with obligation and duty and heavy burdens and difficulties, and sometimes even with blame, with placing blame. So today, with the help of my assistants, I am going to be introducing to you relationship in a lighter, easier way. My name is Carissa Schulk, and thank you for joining me for this series introducing Positional Narcissism. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with friends and enemies alike. When you subscribe to the channel, also be sure to hit the little bell icon and you'll be notified when I post new videos. And in the comment section below, please let me know which points you found particularly useful or meaningful and which points you'd like to see clarified or expanded on in future videos. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll find more details in the description either below or beside this video when you click on More below. There you will also find the link to my online store, and I hope you'll visit and make some purchases. At the time of this recording, I have 1 novel and 2 CDs of original music available. To get a feel for the content, be sure to stay tuned because at the end of each video, I'll have a brief excerpt from the novel or one of the CDs. And now, back to introducing Positional Narcissism. To begin with, I would like to introduce my 2 assistants, Prairie Girl and Teddy Bear. I know, really creative. And you don't need to be concerned. You are not going to be subjected to silly animal voices because I believe that stuffed animals are to be seen and not heard. Responsibility, as I am going to use it, as it relates to the teeter-totter, I use it as 2 words, response and ability. And essentially, I define responsibility as the power to act effectively when effective action is necessary. So, to demonstrate Teddy Bear and Prairie Girl. So you will need to imagine a teeter-totter structure, and Teddy Bear and Prairie Girl are on their teeter-totter going up and down. Now when they are like this, Prairie Girl has responsibility. She has the power to act effectively when effective action is necessary. She's the one in this position whose feet are close to the ground. She can give a push at this point, and if she fails to push at this point, the teeter-totter comes to a halt. And until she pushes, until she acts effectively, Teddy Bear can do nothing of any value. Now, after she has acted effectively, now Teddy Bear has responsibility. So now Prairie Girl has responsibility. Now Teddy Bear has responsibility. Not difficult. in this position, as I pointed out, Teddy Bear does not have responsibility. At this point, Teddy Bear can pump his legs until he's blue in the face. He can use all of his energy. He can work like crazy, and he will accomplish nothing because he does not have responsibility. He does not in this position have the power to act effectively when effective action is necessary. In fact, he has neither one. He does not have the power to act effectively, and at this point, effective action is not necessary from him. He cannot respond until Prairie Girl gives him something to respond to. Now, we're assuming now Prairie Girl has pushed. She has responded. And so now Teddy Bear does have responsibility. Now, when we don't understand responsibility, and again, let me reiterate, responsibility is the power to act effectively when effective action is necessary. And hopefully by using our teeter-totter, I can get that point across in a way that's comprehensible. When we don't understand responsibility in this way, we can wind up going one of two directions, or we can go one direction or the other direction depending on the situation. We can go towards entitlement on the one hand, or a feeling of helplessness in relationship on the other hand. Either one of those things tends to be a distortion of responsibility. It may not seem like it's a very big deal for Teddy to be pushing or going through the motions of pushing while he's in the air like this. It is, in fact, a big problem, or it creates big problems. When Teddy is doing all this work in the absence of responsibility, again, responsibility is the power to act effectively when effective action is necessary. When Teddy is working without having the power to act effectively, and when effective action is not necessary, we can call that being over-responsible. And over-responsibility eventually leads to a feeling of helplessness and generally victimization. So if Teddy's always working, even when he's up in the air, when he does not have responsibility, he might eventually become anxious. He might become a control freak. He might try to he might try to overcompensate all the time, or he might give up, because what Teddy's going to find if he's working all the time, even when he's up here, even when he doesn't have responsibility, what Teddy is going to find is that his work accomplishes nothing. So he might decide, what's the point of working at all? What's the point of doing anything? Because he works all the time and accomplishes nothing. So he might develop this attitude of helplessness, and like I said, victimization. He might just feel that he's a victim all the time, and he might become a victim all the time because he's working in the absence of responsibility. Now, the other side of this equation, I think that I mentioned that if we don't understand responsibility properly, the other side of that is we might develop an attitude of entitlement. I'm not going to discuss entitlement today. That'll be the subject of our next video in this series. But I want to just clearly make the point that it is harmful to feel like you always must be working, even in the absence of responsibility. So my purpose in introducing this subject is partly that it's a big part of the foundation of positional narcissism and leveraged relationship. So to explain what I intend to explain in future videos, you need to have this basic understanding about responsibility. But in and of itself, understanding responsibility can help you in your relationships day in and day out. Because if you can understand who is responsible in that moment in the relationship, who has the power to act effectively when effective action is necessary, and then if you can recognize that in moments where you don't have responsibility, you can relax and you don't have to keep working. One thing that I have noticed in this model of responsibility is that we only have responsibility at most 25% of the time. Let's say 25% of the time we're down here, 25% we're in transit, 25% of the time we're here, and 25% we're in transit again. So what this means is that if we truly understand responsibility, and if we learn how to work only when we have responsibility, we can be at rest most of the time. And rest doesn't necessarily mean just sitting on the couch doing nothing, but it's an absence of trying and pushing and working. It's an absence of anxiety. We can be calm and at peace and at ease in relationship most of the time when we understand this concept. I look forward to talking next time about entitlement and introducing the embryonic fantasy, which is a fun phrase if nothing else. And in the meantime, take good care of yourself. You are worth it.
Hurtful words you would hear every time you came near. Then when you were gone, all alone I would cry, facing the truth that it was I who had done wrong. 'Cause you were made to be loved, safe inside a warm embrace. Heaven smiled on you the day that you were born, and you have lived by God's amazing